Hello, this is Daniel with the Capture 1 beginner tutorial. So first I want to show you all these tool tabs. So we start off in the library tool where you can filter and organize all your pictures. Then you have the capture tool. This is for tethered shooting. We have the lens correction tool where you can do all your lens corrections, also flip and crop the image. Then we have the color tool. There is also white balance included, black and white, and of course color science. Then we have the exposure tool where all the exposure, contrast, brightness, saturation, and the highlights and shadows are happening. Also the levels and curves, clarity and vignetting. Then we have the detail tab where you have the sharpening tool, noise reduction and spot removal. Then we have styles and presets. Here you can create and use your own presets and styles. And we have the metadata. Here you can edit the metadata. You can also create presets and use them. Then when we have the output tab, here you can process your images in various ways. You can basically do the JPEG export, but you can also do a JPEG export with watermark and one without in different subfolders, for example. You can name the images, you can set the quality, you can add watermarks, of course. And yes, if you hit process, it will show up here in the batch tab where it shows you what it's actually exporting right now. So all these tabs can actually be customized. So if you are here in the color tab, for example, you can take the white balance, take it wherever you want, get it back under there or get it on top. So you can also remove these tools. You right click and then remove tool. So let's do it. Let's remove the white balance here. And bam, it's gone. Then also with the right click you can add the tool and you get it back. And yeah, maybe in the beginning it's easy to mess up with these tools, maybe delete some tools you don't want, or you can actually delete whole tabs or add whole tabs. Here are some presets for other tabs you might want, like the quick tab could be really useful, where you put all the stuff in that you use most often. And yeah, maybe if you are a beginner like me and you mess totally up and you don't know where your tools are and how to get them back, you can go to window, workspace, and then you can go back to the original Capture 1 with the current version workspace, and bam, everything is back in place. And if you have a custom workspace where you have maybe the quick tab and with all the tabs and tools you want, you can also save them here with Save Workspace. So now I will get started with my actual workflow. So I go back to the library and I only work in sessions. And the reason for that is that I work on my laptop and on my PC. And if I work in sessions, I can work on the session and then just copy the whole folder and I have the session wherever I want it, whenever I want it. I don't have to mess around with my catalog, copying images. So let's go here and create a new session. You can also create different catalogs, but I like sessions more. So I give the session as a name, was hiking Stauben. So the location, for the location, I already have this folder. So I use this one directly. And then it will automatically create the capture, select, output and trash folder. And it will open the program in a new window. So let's do it. So now I'm basically in a completely new workspace in Capture One. Capture One is opened 2 times now, so I can close the first instance, I don't use it. And I can import the images from my shooting. It will automatically jump into the SD card that I inserted in my card reader. You can also choose the source folder here. And then you can choose the destination. That's normally the capture folder. That's okay. You can add subfolders. I don't want that here. Then you can also back it up if you want to right away. And then you can get the naming. This is hiking Obern. And can also add these counters or like 2 for 6-digit counter within the, if you hit these 3 little points here, you get all the options for these tokens you can add. I usually just use the number counter. So you can also add date or description, whatever. Okay, I don't need copyright, nope, we add that later. You can also add some adjustments on import. You can choose your own user styles or the built-in styles. I don't want that now, so I hit import all. Now here it's activities, it's importing these 56 images and also creating the previews. This is still running, but I can start working right now if I want to. There are also videos in here. So let's choose a nice picture. I think this one turned out pretty well. So now all the pictures I want to go with, I usually give a 1-star rating. Just hit 1 or 2, 3, 4, 5, whatever. Can also give them color tags. You can also sort them by date or places. I think this is more useful if you work in a catalog. If you work in a sessions, it's usually one location and pretty straightforward. So I usually only use the star rating. And I usually go through and give all the ones I want to keep a 1 star, and I usually delete the ones that I don't want to keep, like this, right away. You can just delete them, but they are not completely gone. They are now in the trash folder, so you can still get them back. And if you are finished with the whole project and you are happy and you want to save some storage space, you can empty the folder. But yeah, I usually keep most of the images because it's not that expensive to store them. So let's go back to the capture folder and maybe I select some other pictures I want to keep. Maybe this one, 1 star. And now I'm going to select the 1-star images only. You can also hit Control and show multiple star ratings. So let's go with this. Let's take the nice cow. So now I go over this quick shortcuts, I guess, these basic functions. So you have the select. I usually use the pen, which is H, just to zoom in with the mouse, left mouse button to drift around, right mouse button to drift around like this. And then you have the loop function. I think it's a P shortcut. Oops, no, that's not the, that spot removal is O. Control C. So the P. I have a loop. You can see these ugly flies here. And pretty straightforward also is C for shortcut for crop. And you can hit right click to set aspect ratios or set it to unconstrained. So you can crop however you like. If you cropped something and you want to go back, then just hit the left mouse button outside the crop zone. And be aware in the crop tool, if you are cropped in like this, as long as you are in the crop tool, it will always show up like this, but it actually, the crop is made. So if you export it, it will crop it to here. If you want to show the crop full screen, you have to go back to the hand or one of these other tools. So the next tool is straighten. So if your horizon isn't straight for one reason or the other, you can straighten it. Pretty straightforward. Let's say that's straight. And show the image. Actually, I think the image was pretty straight from beginning. So if you want to go back, you can always right click in the image and then use this function to reset. There is also a global reset button. So let's say you made some wired color choices and you really fucked it up and you don't know how or why. You can go to the global reset and reset it. If you hold down the Alt button, so you can basically compare the variants if you hold down the Alt button. This also works for the small adjustments with each tool. So hit down the Alt button and go back, and it will show you the individual change. Okay, so now let's reset all these changes and go to the next tool, the vertical tool. I actually don't use this a lot. It will vertically align the image along those lines. Control C will always bring you back one step, like everywhere in Windows. So next tool is the spot removal. So let's zoom in tight here. And now you see this is way too big to delete those flies. I want to delete those flies on the nose, but this is way too big. So you can hit the right mouse button in the image and choose the size. This works for all these tools. So now I'm pretty low on 5 pixels. That's okay. And I think Capture One is amazing with these tools. It does an amazing job with spot removals. It's really, really amazing if you do portraits and stuff. So that's it. More stuff on the back. Let's remove it. Okay. So next is draw mask. And for this we probably have to go here to the color or the exposure tabs. Both of them have the layers tab in it. And here is what the magic in Capture One begins. You can actually add and remove, of course, layers here. So let's add another layer, or right click on the plus button. You can add a filled layer, you can add clone and heal layers, and more of this later. So just go with this layer 1. So let's say I want to make the cow brighter, just the cow. So I paint over the cow. Also with right click you can choose the size, hardness, opacity, flow of your brush. And if you want to show the mask, you can hit M and it will show you the mask. So let's brighten this up. It will automatically unshow the mask if I do changes. So let's make this nice bright, maybe a bit more contrasty. So now you see only the layer 1 gets these changes, and this is for all the changes you make in all the tabs. It's for all the color details, all the changes you can ask for. If you go back to background, I could make like all the other stuff, bring down the exposure, the whole image, and it really, cow is really shining. And it's way too much. So what I can do is hit layer 1. Here is what I did. And I can also bring down the opacity. So if the whole change is too much, I can always bring down the opacity. And now if my mask M is not very good, bad selection, so I want to erase some of the mask, I hit E. And this is way too big, so I change the size, a little bit more, less hardness, and I can erase the mask back here. That's pretty good. So that's it for masking. Then you have here the white balance picker. So if you are not sure about the white balance, you can use this one here. I usually go over the white balance here, and you have the exact same tool right here. Pick white balance. So let's pick the balance of the snow. And you see that was a little mistake by me because layer 1 is selected. So the change is only get made to this mask. I don't want this. Control C. And now go back to background and go back to the white balance again and use the white balance of the snow here, maybe. It's really tricky, you can see. That's quite nice, but I actually want to do it by hand, a little bit warmer. I also want my color to be a little more in the red. Okay. Then the next thing I don't really use is apply adjustments. Because I usually use this copy and apply adjustments. More of this later. Draw annotations. You can basically write stuff on your image. Like if you have an editor, then you want them to edit the cow's eyes, you can like select them and your editor will see exactly what he has to do. But I don't have an editor, so I don't really use them. So let's right click and go back. Use the hand tool and maybe crop a little bit. Oops. So a little trick, you always want to leave more space in the direction the cow is looking at, and this goes not only for cows, this goes also for humans. So always if you have one person looking in a direction, leave more space in the direction they are facing or walking or skating, whatever. So before this tutorial goes way too long, I will add some stuff here, a little bit more contrast, maybe brightness is okay. You always can go back to the middle with a double tap the left mouse button. Maybe I like the saturation actually, maybe a little bit less. And you can also just hit the volume number like -3. Okay. And highlights and shadows. If you go up with the highlights, they actually come down. That's different than in most other softwares. But it works exactly the same, just the slider goes in the other direction. And if you bring up the shadows will come up. This is normal. Then we have this is like black and white level. Just use the lower slider to bring out more blacks or cut off the black level actually. And the same goes here for the white level. If you want to increase contrast, you can do it here. You can also slide the upper layer, which will bring up the black level or bring down the white level. So next is the curves. Here you can add just a little bit more contrast if you want. You want to give like this Instagram look, you can cut off some shadows. Let's make this a little bit an Instagram cow. Okay. And you can add or remove clarity. If you want to have a beautiful cow, you will bring down the clarity, and if you want to have an evil cow, you bring up the clarity. And you can add a vignette. That's pretty nice. The vignette, I think it works great here. So let's do like this. Okay. Go to the details. I think it's sharp enough. I think Capture One usually does a really good job in sharpening itself. I almost never touch it. Spot removal. We already used this tool to remove all the flies on the nose. So I can user styles. No, I don't want this. But what I want to do is save user style, because this is a nice style for cows. So let's save all the stuff except the crop, because it makes no sense. Maybe you want to crop every cow a little bit different. So let's save it. And this is my Instagram cow. Okay, let's save it. So pretty neat thing also, I use this a lot, is you can add a layer here, right click on the plus and add a new filled layer. This is the cow set. Okay, right click on the layer, on the mask basically, and then you can apply the user setting from here. And the nice thing is it is then a layer. So let's add it. I can't add the vignette apparently, so let's apply it without the vignette. Now basically I have 2 times the same options applied. I have with the in the background I have already edited all the stuff, basically the Instagram cow, and now I have the cow present on top of it, so it's 2 times as strong. But the neat thing is I can bring down the opacity. So if you have a user style and you apply it within a layer and it is too strong, you can just bring down the opacity, and that's a really nice unique tool in Capture One. So I don't really want this 2 times, I can shut it off. So let's go on with this. For the metadata, oh, why is this spot removal here? Anyways, I have my own presets here and I can load it up right here, presets, and then here you have your presets right away, bam. And now you see it's gone, and this is because of my preset includes a star rating. So if I apply the presets, it goes to 3-star right away because this is my export setting. All the 3 stars are the exported ones. So now let's go to the output tool and let's output this stuff. So I want to have one file with watermark and one just the JPEG. I set it to 90% for the normal one and maybe 80% JPEG quality for the watermark one. I go here to watermark and it isn't really visible yet. I have a text like just my homepage. So I go here at the front and I change the color maybe to white for this one. Okay, it is down here, it's not really visible, so I up the opacity, maybe scale it up, whatever you like, change the position. So that's it. Back to basic. So the output location is just output folder. That's the what Capture One created automatically on the import. And output naming, I would say that's the Insta cow. You can also add the numbers if you want, like here, 1-digit counter. Just double click it, yes, and change it to 2 digits if you want. And if I go to file, it's a little bit weird, this tab, because only this tab actually changes. This output location, naming and summary are always the same. So I go to file and I really want to just have this subname and subfolder full res watermark, and if I go to JPEG alone, it is full res. So that's perfect. Then I don't really use this, no respect crop, no sharpening, of course. The included metadata and watermark. That's it. So I hit process and it will process really quickly the 2 images here, and then I go to my folder, let's go drive pool 2019 June hiking, and this is basically the subfolder or the folders that Capture One created for the session, and this is the session file. So if you want to open the session again, if you copy the whole this whole folder to the laptop, you can just open the session by clicking here and you are right back to work. That's really neat, I think. And in the capture folder you have all the raw images, and in the output folder you see now I have two folders created by Capture one with the watermark images or image with the Instacow01 and the full res JPEG without any watermarks. So I think I would say that's more or less it. I hope you enjoyed the tutorial. If you have any questions or anything you want to hear more about, any tools you want to hear more, leave a comment. I will go into it. I will read all the comments and give answers. Thanks very much for watching and see you next time.